I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Kim Paquette.
Good evening. I just had a question. Well, I actually have two questions, two separate questions. I didn't say that, no. Mrs. Farnworth said it.
Mike?
It's a,
She identified herself on the sheet. I'm good. Thank you.
so you don't need that, okay. I read on Facebook that Dr. Sanchioni is retiring. Do you have a timeline for when you plan on searching for a new superintendent?
I'll be making a statement later in the agenda this evening.
Oh, okay, great. And we'll be able to ask questions at that point, or we won't be able to ask questions? Okay. Also, a couple meetings ago, a parent brought forward information about the badges for the safety.
Yes.
And it hasn't been brought up again. I was just wondering, keeps doing that. I'm just wondering, it hasn't been brought up again. Are you considering that, bringing that into the school?
No one has asked to have it put on the agenda. However, I know Dr. Sanchioni's been looking into it.
Do you want me to address it?
And we can certainly put it on a future agenda if you'd like.
Do you want a quick answer?
Okay. That was all I wanted. I just wanted to know, because I hadn't heard anything about it. I was just wondering. It seems important.
Again, if somebody would like to have it put on the agenda, there is a process to put in an agenda request for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's all we had for open forum this evening. Moving forward to the consent agenda, we have meeting minutes from September 9th and September 24th for both regular and executive session. We also have policy subcommittee minutes from August 27th, and we have October enrollment. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, we'll go right into new business. Our first item, discuss and approve Tiverton High School band trip to New York. Mrs. Craven.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I didn't push the button hard enough. So I'm here tonight to introduce you to Mr. Luke Bain, who's our new band director, and Sarah Cundy, who teaches strings and chorus at Tiverton High School. They'll be requesting approval for a field trip to New York City in May of this year.
Hi. I'm shorter. Hi. So I think you all have the itinerary, the proposal that we have. So it is, the cost is $730 per student. This will be fundraising from the kids and paying out of pocket. Tempo has already started their annual pie fundraiser. And then just quick overview of what the itinerary is. We go down on a Friday. We go to the city, we see a Broadway show, we get to do a workshop, which is behind the scenes. It'll be connected to whatever show we see. An actor from that show will teach us dances and songs. I'm not entirely sure. And then they get to see that actor perform. And then the next day we'll have our performance on the USS Intrepid and get to tour that. There's also a space shuttle on that ship. And we'll also check out the 9/11 Memorial and I believe the museum too. So a little music stuff, a little bit of sightseeing, and a lot of fun for the kids.
Okay, before we go any further, do I have a motion to approve the Tiverton High School band trip to New York?
So
I'll make
moved.
that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second? I don't know who counted.
We'll split it. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi,
Can I go?
Hi.
how are you both?
Good.
Good. Thanks for putting this together. It looks exciting. I know that my kids love New York City. We asked this question, I guess to be fair to everyone. We had someone come last meeting, and we asked a question, if you're using a company to book this, or if this is something you're putting together yourselves.
We work with Bennett Student Travel. It's a travel agent that works specifically with music programs to go on music-specific trips. So we used them for Disney last year and Hershey Park the year before. They're really
And
great.
Mike, Tiverton High School's been using Bennett Travel for years.
Years,
Years
yeah.
and years and years. They were great.
They're great, yeah.
Okay, that was my question, so thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Sounds like a good time. I miss the days. I wish I could be a chaperone. Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous. Have a good time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, administrator goals. We have Mr. Andrade, Ms. Kraeger, and Mr. Andrade too. We have two Andrades now. Oh, my. I'll start in the order it is printed. Danny.
While he's getting ready. Maybe explain to people the difference between open and just. You're in trouble if it doesn't.
All right, so I'm here to just present my goals like we do every year. Our department is compiled of Mark Pimentel, the technology specialist, Shelley Camara, the computer clerk, and myself, the director of instructional technology. Skip over this. I'm going to go over 4 goals with you guys. It's to create the 3-year technology plan. I'll get in depth with what that is. Our one-to-one device plans, safety and security, and then our E-rate connection plan. So our ride requirement is to submit a 3 to 5 year tech plan. Our current one was in place from 2021 to 2024. We could do it either 3-year, 4-year, 5-year. I think 3-year is the best for our district, to stay relevant, and technology is changing all the time. So I think if we submit a 3-year plan, that'll be good for us. Our draft will be completed by April 1st, and we have to submit this by ride before May 1st. So. The next goal is our one-to-one device plan. We plan on purchasing 150 new devices. This is typically what we purchase every year. Last year, we were able to fund, my apologies. We plan to order 365 devices. Last year, we were able to fund 140 devices covered with the ECF grant. This year, we aim to hopefully get 150 of those devices covered. We plan to submit for those grants before March 2025, and without the grants, this would approximately cost $120,000, and that's typically what we see every year. Our safety and security goal is to install new security, well, we don't have security cameras at the moment overseeing our athletic fields at the high school or the middle school. There is some on the building, but nothing on like a pole out there that faces those areas. So our plan is to get security cameras installed in those spaces, which are blind spots for the school, but they're out on the athletic fields. We want to apply for more like cybersecurity grants to cover a lot of our software stuff. We do get grants to cover our like safety and security things, like hardware installments, but nothing at the moment to cover like our Alice training that goes to the teachers, our cybersecurity type training, phishing alerts that I showed you guys last week, stuff like that. So we want to find more grants to cover that funding to reduce our costs. And the last thing would be to integrate Raptor visitor management at the middle school. I believe the middle school is a good spot to incorporate that. We have that at the high school, and it works well when visitors come to the high school. It does a background check on them. We've gone over that. But we don't have that in place at the middle school at the moment, and they have kiosk setups for the vestibule. Currently, we have like a camera there, and parents show their IDs. The secretaries let them in, call down the students, stuff like that. But this system, with this system in place, the system would take care of that for us, do a background check on whoever's coming to pick up the student, and also cross-reference our SIS system to make sure that parent is like an approved picker-upper of that student. So we'd like to put that in place at the middle school and hopefully down the line incorporate it at all of our schools. And the last goal would be to use our E-rate funding. So E-rate's a program given by RIDE where we can take on a big technology project, but we'd be responsible for 60% of the costs, while RIDE is responsible for the other 40% of the cost. This is how we pay for our internet already in their Category 1 program. Category 2 has to deal with anything hardware-wise, so it's like our Wi-Fi, our servers, stuff like that. 2 years ago, we did do a hardware project with them. We redid all the Wi-Fi at the middle school and the high school, and we kind of depleted the funds out of our E-rate. But every year it builds up by, it's like $136 per pupil. So that starts to accumulate, and we are allowed to spend that money as long as it fits under that threshold of what's required from them, and we come up with the other funding ourselves. So we would like to connect all of our closets using a fiber optic connection. Right now, it's just a Cat6 connection between the closets, which isn't the best practice. It works, but if we got a fiber optic connection between all of our internet closets, you know, our speeds would be better, our security of it would be better. Those cables also can't just be unplugged by hand. They're like hardwired and like fastened in there, so no one can really mess around with our connections between closets. Yeah, it would be a big help for our Wi-Fi in the district, and we would do that at all of our schools. And that's it for my goals. Any questions?
I will start down with Mrs. Polish and work our way down.
Awesome.
So these are this year's goals?
These would be this year's goals, yeah.
And so how much of, and I should remember this because I know you did your budget presentation. So these three coincide with that budget presentation that you get. Like you said, the E-rate, we have to have 60. Did you budget for the
Correct.
60?
We did not budget for the 60, no.
Okay.
No. But the laptops, all that stuff, yes,
We
we
did,
budgeted for,
okay.
yeah. Same thing with the security cameras, and that's why in the budget presentation, I didn't really cover it, but every line we'd search for grants before March so we can see if we have funding to do these projects. Same
Okay.
things with like the security cameras. I'd like to use COPS grants funding for that. If we don't have anything else already in place to use that money for, I would like to use it on, you know, adding the security cameras to the outside fields. And if we can't use that funding, I'll search for other security funding to see if we could do that project. The only thing that was in the budget presentation was the devices, that we give new devices to 1st, 5th, and 9th grade students,
Okay. So the other two are predicated really on finding the funding?
pretty much, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Dr. Larkin?
Nothing, thanks.
Mrs. Babel?
Nothing. And Mr. Kotis?
Yes. Thank you for your presentation. 2 questions, hopefully
Yeah.
they're easy. Security cameras that overlook the fields?
Yeah.
Those are cloud-based?
Yeah, well, they would somewhat. It'd be just like our physical security attached to the building. We
Okay.
do have switches out on the field. That's how we can record all of the sporting events
Got it.
at the high school. So it'd be connected to the same switches, so they would be hardwired into our network,
Got it.
just like any other cameras. So it'd all still get, you know, backed up with the CSVRs in the safe room. The cloud-based portion of it would be how we access it from our phones and our laptops, but all of the footage would be, you know, hardwired back to our safe
Okay.
rooms.
Almost like how my Ring Cam would work. If you want to go back
Yeah.
and look up to a certain time.
Exactly. You
There
can do
was
that from, yeah,
If there was something, someone damaged our property, or if there was a altercation or something, we could go back,
Exactly.
the police could look at it.
exactly. You'd have 1 month of storage pretty much on your
Okay,
cell
1 month.
phone, but it would all go back to our safe rooms, but you'd have, you know, more,
Okay.
3 months, I believe,
All right.
on the safe rooms.
It's a great idea. I like
Yeah.
that idea a lot. The other question is, what's a closet?
The MDFs and IDFs, yeah, pretty much. It's literally a closet
It's a
where
closet where it's stored?
all of our access points, they run back to. So
Okay.
the access points run back to switches, which connects to our network. You know, internet comes into the building, just like you have in your house. You have a router, and it's pretty much a giant spider web from there. It's like
Okay.
where it goes.
Okay.
So we have our main IDF, which has a lot of the housing on it. and then smaller ones all over the school because of coverage. You can't just run cables all the way across the building. You need little, stops along the way
Okay.
to send that signal along.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for explaining.
of course.
I knew a little bit of it, but I'll be honest, I didn't. So I'm sure if I was the only one, maybe it was. Thank you for explaining.
Of course.
On your, well, I understand the three-year tech plan, and I've seen those that have been drafted in the past. I would encourage you to share those, share that plan when you get it put together with the
course,
school
yeah.
committee. I think it's a good document.
Yeah.
On the, going to Mrs. Polish's questions, it appears that a lot of what you're looking to do is not budgeted, with the exception of the one-to-ones. So how, are you confident you're going to be able to get grant funding? You did mention COP grants. Do we have available COP grant money for this?
Potentially. I mean, my goal is to search
We
for
do.
other COPS grants funding. I know we applied for the COPS grant, and we could potentially use that funding, but there's more stuff out there, and, I'm meeting with multiple vendors, and every time we meet with a vendor, they kind of give us grants that are available. We see if we can apply, if we qualify. I'm hoping there's more out there that I could get, to cover this funding.
Okay.
And the tech plan, that one doesn't have to do anything with budgeting and the laptops, so it's really just the security of the buildings and, like, the closets. I mean, I would love to do that project if we don't find funding this year, hopefully down the line, or we can come up with
I'm
something.
noting that you're going to be applying for grants, beginning procurement processes really next spring.
Yeah,
So, I mean, some of that could be put into the FY '26 budget request
yeah.
as well. So just different ways to look at it, but as you're aware, we're tight this
Yeah.
year. So these are all great ideas. I encourage you to pursue them, but it's going to be interesting to see how you get the funding.
No, exactly. And I would have loved to put this in the budget presentation last year, but the funding wasn't really there to put that in there. So we'll see what we can come up with for grants, and hopefully we could get some of these projects done.
Good. All right, thank you.
Of course.
Madam Chair, one last question for me.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah.
May I ask the superintendent about the COPS grant, what may be there? Is that okay?
Go ahead.
So we received one COPS grant, and a large portion of that is already committed, so we're working through that to see what's available, and that's when we'll have a conversation with Danny.
So there's a possibility there could be some left over?
Some left over.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Nice job, Danny.
Okay. Next up, we have Mrs. Kraeger.
Okay. I usually start out these presentations just with an overview of what our department goals are. So sticking with that, just want to remember and remind ourselves that the Office of Student Services ensures that we provide a free, appropriate public education for students who have special needs, ages 3 to 22. We align ourselves with all of the programs and goals and strategic goals of the Tiverton Public School System when serving our students with special education needs. Of course, we want to continue to close the gap, both academically and functionally, for all of our students with IEPs, and then build and maintain effective partnerships with our families and other community members. Last year was our first year, as you know, as our homegrown special education program, our Office of Student Services, so I did want to share some successes with you. The first 5 on that slide are actually more of a creating systems within the district. So you can see there from the development of a special education procedural manual, developing our
I'm sorry, you need to flip the slide.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You have to remind me. Super successful Tiverton Public Schools Special Ed Local Advisory Committee. We have a new early childhood coordinator last year, Lindsay Jacobs. She and her team have created a very strong early childhood team, and we have seen increases and successes just in that programming alone. I could talk about that another day. Perhaps I'll have Lindsay come and talk with you. We coordinated all of our practices. A lot of it was previously in the regional business office. We aligned it with the business practices here in Tiverton, and that also included the setup of Medicaid building our Medicaid billing for Tiverton as well. And all of that happened quite seamlessly, thanks again to Lindsay, like I said, and my admin assistant, Jenna Ouellette. In addition to that, I worked with the building administration and guidance counselors and interventionists and special educators at Tiverton Middle School last year. There was an area of need in their reading based on STAR scores and RICAS scores. So last year we did implement a new reading program and structure within the middle school where every student was able to get daily practice on Lexia. This year, we also implemented after all of our structured literacy and science of reading training, we implemented a block of structured literacy for some students who require that on IEPs and other students who have personal literacy plans and need that sort of intervention. Thank you. Is that the right one? And then we did meet state performance indicators, and there were some indicators that we exceeded, and I did list them there. I think they're important to celebrate, and this is a celebration of our teachers and principals as well. So we exceeded the number of students graduating with a high school diploma. We'll have students with IEPs graduating with a high school diploma. The percent of students with IEPs dropping out of high school was much less than the state. We had 0 suspension practices for students with disabilities, discrepancy in that. There you'll see a couple of preschool successes in regards to preschool children entering our program and then exceeding what the expectations were, both academically and behaviorally. And lastly, that is supposed to say percent of youth who has IEPs who are no longer in high school, it's a secondary school, who have been employed or enrolled in post-secondary school or both within a year after leaving high school. So again, all things we're excited about and celebrate sort of in-house, but I did want to bring that to you. In developing my our department 2 overall goals, we stay aligned to the Tiverton Public Schools mission and vision. And the guiding principles that align with the goals are strategic plan. Every student will be empowered and challenged to achieve high levels of academic success while building lifelong habits. The strategic plan of cultivating every student having consistent opportunities to cultivate, practice, and reflect on social emotional competencies in ways that are appropriate and culturally responsive. And finally, the administrator vision goal that our staff will be well supported and trained. So looking at the first one, I kind of just broke this up a little visually differently than I usually do, but it contains the same information. So by June 2025, we want to develop a multi-tiered system of support framework that's designed to provide comprehensive evidence-based support to all students. We used to talk about something called response to intervention, RTI, and that was really focused solely on students who required interventions. A student who was scoring below grade level in academic areas. Multi-tiered system of supports is a little bit different because it actually includes a structured Tier 1, which is our core curriculum. So it includes all kids, and that core curriculum is just not academic curriculum, it's also social, emotional, and behavioral. So it encompasses that functional, those functional skills as well. So in doing so, we'll be forming a district-wide MTSS team. Each building has an MTSS coordinator, so most likely those people will be on the MTS team, along with interventionists, special educators, administrators, and regular ed teachers. We will put a system in place. You can tell it was sort of system-oriented, but have a system in place and flow chart that all stakeholders can understand and follow. It'll allow us to collect data, analyze data, and make decisions appropriately. I discussed the tiered supports. We have a lot of academic, universal, or core high-quality instructional materials. We need to dig a little bit deeper on the side of social-emotional learning to make sure that's happening in our regular classrooms as well, so we'll be focusing on that, as well as targeted and intensive interventions. And then in doing so, we will continue to provide professional development for our staff. They've already received or are receiving PD and Universal Design for Learning, which is almost like the first stage, or that is that Tier 1, all of the good practices that are happening in the classroom in Tier 1, both academically and behaviorally. And all of this happens prior to a student being referred for any special education services. So then, throughout the year, we'll be looking at different performance indicators together as the MTSS team, which you can see there. And then goal 2, I'm passionate about all of this, but goal 2 is something I'm really passionate about. If you are to look up or ask anybody, what is the biggest challenge in special education today? It's retaining and recruiting special educators. All educators have there are a lot of roles that they play. When budgets are tight, they're playing many more roles, right? Our special educators are doing the same, and they have a ton of paperwork to meet all of the guidelines and legal guidelines that have to do with special education. In addition to that, they are sometimes feeling like they're almost in an island of their own. They don't have like a fourth grade team of teachers can meet and talk about their fourth grade curriculum or what they're seeing and looking at student work. Our special educators are working with many different grade levels, so it's hard to have them, even if they join that team, they're not just working with fourth grade, they're working with first graders and kindergartens and third graders. So I want to really try and get our special educators together so they feel that sense of collaboration where they get to share ideas and support one another. So in doing all of this, some of the strategic actions I have is really looking at the existing structure of special education too. So we've had the same sort of structure in place for several years. I think there's times where we have to look at that again and see if that's what makes most sense. Like I said, our teachers, special ed teachers are working in many grade levels. How can we look at that a little bit differently? Do we have teachers focus more on literacy and then some focus more on math and become experts in those areas? So we'll be looking at that together. I talked about the department collaboration, and then one thing that I think can make things easier and more efficient is using technology and making that, putting that in the hands of our special educators to make it a little bit easier and more efficient. I have some performance indicators there, but I think what really is going to be evidence of what is happening is talking and listening to our special ed teachers. I put on here what a thriving educator model looks like. So that means our special ed teachers should feel valued. They should feel like they're an expert in their field, and they should have supports and relationships feeling connected. So I put there in that table what it would look like, what it sounds like, and what it would feel like if those things are happening. So I'll be doing surveys with the special ed teachers. I'm out in the schools often and working in teams daily. So I get to see some of this now, and I'm looking forward to a positive change in some of that too, where they're not feeling so overwhelmed every day. And that is it.
Thank you. I think I'll kick it off, and then we'll go around, okay? Just one question that comes to mind, you were talking about implementing technology-driven solutions to ensure regulatory compliance. And one of the statements you made early on is, you know, and I'm aware of this, is special ed teachers have a ton of paperwork. Are there any opportunities that we're not already taking advantage of to use technology to get some of this quote-unquote paperwork done?
Yeah, so we are using some technology now, but like Mr. Andrade said, it changes so quickly. So there are new and innovative software products that are constantly coming out. I just went to a conference and was in front of several. But one other thing that we can't ignore is AI. How do we use that to help support our special ed teachers and come up with different opportunities? And that one of the presentations I went to was a district using that and helping with just that, you know, the paperwork and trying to be more efficient. So I have access to a lot of those software components, so it's just a matter of really kind of digging into that and working with our special ed staff, so they are too empowered by that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Elaine? Mike?
Thank you for your presentation.
You're welcome.
My question's more of just a curious one. Now that we're in year 2 of our being on our own, how would you compare it going into this year compared to where we were going in last year when it was brand new? And by compare, I'm saying some of the challenges. How do you feel after a year under your belt? Like, is there some things that...
That's a great question. I just think it was a year where I was able to dive deeper, right? I had a level as a regional special education director that was pretty much just special education. So there's so many other pieces when you dive a little bit deeper where you get into the culture and how teams work together. So I think having more understanding of that, it allows me to kind of be like more, be more focused. I got to see how some of the special educators are working and how they're working really hard and ways that I can improve that. So I think being here and just being here every day and being able to dig deeper is allowing us to be more specific on any sort of improvements. But still the same excitement and, I don't know what I want to say, excitement about special education, working with our principals, all of that's the same.
Sure. Thank you. And one other question. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. I think it's an important question. But I remember when we ventured into this last year, we had a lot of parents or guardians that were here. They were very nervous and they were concerned. And I haven't seen as many come to meetings. So I guess my question would be, do we feel like we're doing everything we can? Are we in a good place with our students? Are we able to give them everything they need? And I think this is just an important question to be transparent so community can hear how we're doing.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm often at meetings, so I get to work in collaboration and interact with parents often. So I think the special education service part was super seamless from regional to coming to Tiverton. That we made sure happened. We did not want our teachers, our parents, and really our students to feel anything different. So I would like to say that perhaps parents get to see more of me since coming to just Tiverton. And like I said, our CLAC group is large. It's one of the largest in the East Bay. So I think that has been positive.
Thank you, I appreciate
welcome.
that feedback.
Yep.
Thank you, Mike. Dr. Larkin,
Hi.
would you like to ask a question?
No, actually, I appreciate Mike's. Those were really good questions. And I am happy to know that both you find it rewarding to sort of be taking on this role in a different way, but also that the sky hasn't fallen and things seem to be okay. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Kraeger.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least, our newest administrator, Mr. Andrade.
So first, just want to thank my team, Carolyn Mendes, Dottie Eckersley, and Peter's admin, Christine Giannini. Without them, business and finance central office would be a little hectic right now as it is, but even worse. And they're doing a great job. So I mentioned most of these goals, but they're, kudos to them because they've helped proceed these along. I'll start out by, the first goal, I used the SMART criteria. I don't have a pretty PowerPoint like Sarah and Danny. They did a great job, but
Next year.
yeah, 2 weeks and a day in. So first one's, as we all know, we just had a sub-finance committee meeting, but finalize all FY24 documents. Ensure all audit compliance tasks are completing with no findings. Work closely with the audit team to address compliant needs. Audit compliance is essential for financial accountability and transparency. And, time-bound close out FY24 as quickly as we can. We're a little behind, as you know. But my goal is to get everything to audit, field work, et cetera, and then to ride with the final audit opinion by the end of the year, which would be 2 months earlier than last year due to a accounting software update. So, good goal going forward. And next one would be, we have multiple audit compliance ongoing. Address all audit compliance requirements for FY24, ensure readiness for future audits, maintain a compliance rate of 100% across all audits, leverage existing audit procedure internal controls, necessary for maintaining financial integrity, and ensure ongoing compliance throughout 24 and beyond. As we know, there's a lot of ad hoc reporting being requested for budget to actual format, not only in FY25 and 24, but this goal is specific to develop new ad hoc reporting using our current system to format, with clarity and ease of understanding for all stakeholders. Create and implement the new report format by the completion of Q1, which will be next school committee meeting. Achievable by utilizing current accounting tools and data systems, enhance transparency and communications with the leadership team, and hope to complete this by the end of October. Obviously, as I said, it'll be a little sooner with the next school committee meeting. Next is proactive engagement with TPS leadership. Engage proactively with TPS leadership team to meet the financial goals, ensuring all departments remain within budget. Excuse me. Quarterly budget reviews to track alignment with financial goals. Continue to conduct regular check-ins and updates with the leadership team. Important for maintaining fiscal discipline across departments, and this will continue on throughout FY25, which we know we have many budget constraints right now. Future FY26 preparation is already underway as well. As we all know, we have a big structural deficit to finalize and develop strategies to reduce the structural deficit as part of the FY26 budget planning process. My plan is to produce deficit-reducing strategies by the end of the year, by the end of the fiscal year. Continue to analyze current expenditures and revenue streams to find cost-saving opportunities, as Danny alluded to earlier.
Reduce the structural deficit is critical for the district's long-term financial health. Ongoing throughout this fiscal year with the first set of proposals by June 2025. And last but not least, again, just touching base on the FY26 budget development. It'll be here before we know it. Continue working with the leadership team to draft that budget to align with district goals, complete and submit the first draft by mid-December. Engage with all key stakeholders to ensure budgets properly align, ensure fiscal responsibilities with the district priorities, and again, time-bound first draft by mid-December. Any questions?
Thank you.
A
I'll
lot
open it
going
up.
on.
Who wants to go first?
Me.
Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Andrade. 2 weeks and 1 day in. Nice job. My biggest question is, mid-December is probably what you mentioned, we'll get a first robust look at the budget.
Yeah, we're already starting, as Danny can say, he's already started working on his FY26, and there'll be a bunch of rough drafts before then, and then we
Okay.
should have a first draft by then.
So that's probably when the public will get to hear. Like, when we get to get our budget books normally and we get it out there. Normally it's around Thanksgiving.
No, you usually get
No.
the budget books after the first of the year. We usually
After
do a
the first of the
presentation
year.
first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably start
Christmas
with-
holiday.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, the FY24 audit needs to finish before
Okay.
we really release the next year.
Okay. So somewhere in December-ish,
Mhm.
most likely. Okay. All right. Good luck.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I'm going to use this opportunity just to welcome you and let you know how excited we am. Because it's a need, I like that most of your goals clearly are focused on budgets, actual, and forecasting. As the Director of Finance and Administration, I imagine that'll grow, but I think for this first year, I'm very encouraged to see the focus, rightfully so, where I'm sure you want it to be, which is, are the numbers correct? So welcome and thank you.
Welcome. For me as well, although I can, your sense of newness resonates with me. We've closed the budget on June 30th and started talking about the next budget on July 1st, so it's a never-ending beast to be fed, so. But thank you for digging in there, and I appreciate your goals as well that are looking at budget to actuals, making sure that we are, again, in a constrained environment, that we are not overspending. So thank you.
I will ask you a little bit more of a pointed question based upon what you have here. For the solutions to close the structural deficit, you reference propose actionable deficit-reducing strategies by Q4 of '25, meaning June of '25. I don't happen to think that's soon enough.
Yeah,
What do you
well,
mean by that?
So of course we have to, it does have to be sooner, but we finish, the final budget would be June of '25, so once everything plays out.
Well, yeah, but we have to
Yeah.
submit our budget
Yeah.
requests to the town by March.
Yeah.
So we really need to be starting to think about those strategies well before.
Yeah, of
that
course,
time.
you start at the rough draft, but hopefully to finalize those strategies would be the time bound of the end of the, before the approval by the town council, et cetera. The final step,
Okay. All right, just so we're all on the same.
Yeah. Rough draft and then final. That would be my goal, to be ready by even June 1st, you know what I mean?
Okay. Anyone else? Well, 2 weeks and a day. Thank you very much for putting this together. Appreciate it very much. I know it was a quick turnaround. All right. And that takes us to the end of Item 2, sorry. Item number 3, capital allocation. Dr. Sanchioni?
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. Last Monday, Chairperson Farnworth, Brendon, and myself attended a town council meeting to discuss our capital projects. I'm grateful that the document you have in your packet reflects those projects that were funded. I'd like to go through those projects with you and give you an update where we stand on them. So we need a condenser at the middle school to provide heat at one section of the building that currently does not have it. That condenser is on order, and we expect to have it installed within the next couple weeks. We had a few extra parts to add to the locker room project. Air purification system will be installed next week. Shelving will be put in this week. All the equipment will be delivered this Friday. Once the equipment is delivered, we'll assess the equipment that we had cut out because of budget, and if there's revenue there, which was allocated, we'll fill in those gaps with the equipment that we would feel necessary for our phys ed and our athletes. The security item is the cameras. Those have already been installed, and so we're ready to go there. We were allocated funds for the dividers at the middle school, Pecasset and Fort Barton. A company has been contacted. It's on the MPA, and we have a meeting with them next week. The vestibule security film, we're about to go out to bid on that. We're working with the architect to create that. The floor scrubbers have been ordered from a company that's on the MPA list, and we have a meeting next Thursday with a lock company that's also on the MPA list to look at new locks for the middle school, high school, and the elementary locks. We've invited the fire marshal to join us there, along with our administrative team, and so we'll begin that conversation there. So everything on there is moving forward. As you can see, a lot of these will add to the safety and security of our schools, along with fixing some areas that need drastic improvement. So again, with great gratitude, I'd like to thank the town council for this allocation.
Thank you. Just the math on this, we received, and this is a preliminary vote. They haven't taken their final
Right.
vote yet. But preliminarily, we've been granted $799,000 of the $3 million, I think it is, that they're able to distribute. So I think, that was all good, and I'm thrilled beyond words that we can finally pull the trigger on some of these safety items that we've been asking for a very long time. On top of the quote-unquote very necessary condenser at the middle school, because the cold's starting very soon. I would also ask you to continue to keep us abreast of, that was a great update this evening. I'd like to know where we stand with the spending as it becomes to be.
Evidence, sure.
If any of these estimates turn out to be too low, we're going to need to go back to the town council on that. It's not a situation where we can go over any of these amounts.
Absolutely, we understand that.
So let's just make sure that we're still there. And my last question is, so when are you doing the ribbon cutting?
Yeah, so let's get those installed on Friday, and if it happens Friday next week. So, for sure.
Okay. I'll open it up to others. Deb?
So, regarding the tracking, Mr. Andrade, what's your role in that? Do you assist? I know 2 weeks in a day, what do you envision your role being with the tracking of the capital?
Peter, myself, and the leadership team meet every Monday morning, and part of that meeting is discuss capital. I'm pretty much all in. I've been working with Ride, getting the documents set together, emailed our architect to get him on board again, because part of Ride's process, you need the architect involved. Unfortunately, these are low dollar amounts, but it's just right. It doesn't matter what the dollar amount of the project is.
So you work with the team and the building committee and whomever you need to make sure that, to Mrs. Farnworth's point, that we're not going over the bid?
Everything's great right now.
Or we're not going over, not the bid, the award, I guess I'll call it.
Yeah, we're moving forward, and everything's been good. Like
Okay,
I said,
good.
everything's great at Beaning. It's on the budget right now, so we're doing good.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Yeah, so just to follow on what Deb was asking about, so there's the projects as they're occurring. I think one of the things you probably are learning, or maybe you've learned it already, is that there's a certain amount of reimbursement that comes back to RIDE. And do you get involved in I mean, it goes to the town, but there has been, and I'm not sure where they are with that, had established a specific fund that some of that money should go into it, but I don't know if it has to be every time there's a disbursement from RIDE, if they have to
Yes.
directly allocate it back to that fund? And
Yeah,
we're
they
tracking
do,
that?
and the disbursement goes right to the
To town.
town citizens bank
Right.
account, so they know when it comes in, they actually inform us. And part of having the architect is in order to get the 5% bonus on top of the 35%. So
Right.
not only is the architect great to have on board, because he's knowledgeable, we also need to utilize him to get the higher percentage.
But do you know, and Diane, you might be the better person to be able to answer this. Or Peter, are they putting that money in that set-aside account? Or do we know what's going on with that?
Yeah, we do. So we've had, I think, 3 years of allocations
Right?
thus far. And the vote to create that special school-specific account where the reimbursements would come into was not in place immediately.
Right?
So last week, the town council put through a resolution where basically they are taking the funds from the casino money for that, as well as the current locker room project.
Yeah.
They had given us
Putting it in that.
1.3 million, the
Yeah.
total budget was 2.2. So they're going to be advancing those funds from the casino funds. And then when the reimbursements come in,
Yeah.
they will replenish the casino funds, not the school-specific capital account for those projects.
I see.
So we
Oh, okay.
can't double dip, which
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
And then and I'll give Councilman Burke credit. He's the one that gave us this spreadsheet that you have in your packet tonight. They've already estimated what the reimbursements will be for each of these requests, so that they're aware of what to expect for reimbursements on these items in the future.
And then there's also reimbursement from the bonds, but they may be, I don't know if they're allocating those into that.
The
Fund.
bond reimbursements that's part of no, we won't get
Place a
that.
note,
Huh?
toward the note.
Toward the note,
That's
yeah.
what I figured.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then my other question, condenser at the middle school, we just redid all the HVAC there.
5 years ago. It's been that long.
I guess it has, yeah. Huh.
Yeah, the question came up at the town council, too. And it was like,
Yeah, we're surprised that the condenser went this quickly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Right out of warranty, of course.
I buy condensers all the time, and they always last much longer.
Right.
What I'm talking about, but, yeah, what is the average lifetime of a condenser?
I would hope more than
It's supposed
5
to be
years. I don't
longer
know
than
the.
a cat, I would think, so,
Right.
come on. All right. But there's no, did we look at to see if there's any warranty or?
We did, absolutely.
And there's not?
No.
Or it's expired or?
Yep.
Probably like a year, okay. All right, well, hopefully the ceiling doesn't fall down.
Just the heat.
Okay. Anyone have any other questions? We don't have any votes to take this evening. It was just an information item.
Elaine, anything?
Anything?
I would just like to publicly say thank you to the town council. And the only question I have is, Peter, the locks for all the schools, we're talking exterior locks. These are all the locks to the classrooms.
And, yeah, all the
So
interior
these
doors.
are all the interior doors. Okay, thank you.
And they were part of the safety assessment that was done.
They were in both safety assessments, it was noted.
Right. Okay.
Can I, since we just talked about safety, can I ask a really quick question? The sort of application of the reinforcement on all the windows, has that happened?
Yeah, so that was on here, it's the, how do we label it?
That's what I thought.
Security film, right?
Yeah, in the
So
vestibules.
we're going to go out to bid, that revenue should is geared toward all 5 schools. Should be
So
able
it
to
hasn't
take-
been, but it hasn't happened yet?
Hasn't
I
happened yet,
didn't
no.
think so. Okay.
Yeah,
all
we've
right.
got to go out to bid for that one, and we'll work with the architect on it.
Okay.
So it's shatterproof film. I guess I want to be clear on that. It's not bulletproof or anything like that. It's just shatterproof.
Okay. And then I promise my really last question. So if you have some sort of ceremony for the locker room,
We will.
okay, when you have some sort of ceremony, can we make it so it's not like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon so that all
Yes,
the
I promise you'll be in the
many,
evening, so that,
I think it's not for nothing, but there's a lot of people in this town, in local government, who have worked really hard to get some of this stuff done.
no, absolutely. And plus,
So-
it's going to be used at 1 o'clock. So
Huh?
we'll have plenty of students in there at 1 o'clock, so we'll make sure it's
Oh,
after
yes.
use is
Well,
over.
that's a
and
whole other story,
Sometime in the
right?
evening.
All set, Dr. Larkin?
Not really, but go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask that we table items 4, 5, and 6. I found that the changes in the policies weren't redlined, and we need to have that.
Do you need
So
a
we'll go
motion?
for first read at our October 22nd meeting. So could I have a motion to table new business 4, 5, and 6?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. All right. And then lastly, personnel update.
They were quick anyways.
So, Dr. Sanchioni has submitted his letter of intention to retire as of June 30th of 2025. I just want to take a moment to recognize some really good things that have happened here under his leadership. Staff development. He's instituted regular and meaningful professional development to our staff for the first time. Technology. He brought one-to-one devices to our students, enabling them to take advantage of 21st century learning opportunities. Facilities. He oversaw 2 major building projects, not only the bathrooms in 2 of our schools, but as this current locker room project as well, and did so very well. And I would be remiss if I, didn't talk to the number of safety upgrades that have happened as well under his tenure. COVID. We all remember COVID. And, Dr. Sanchioni brought praise to our district for his handling of COVID, the crisis itself, as well as our return to normalcy. Parent contact, his parent advisory keeps him staying abreast of issues that matter to today's parents. And lastly, but certainly not least, the standardized test scores district-wide have been steadily improving each and every year. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, Dr. Sanchioni will be with us through the remainder of this school year, which will give our school committee the opportunity to plan for and execute a superintendent search starting immediately after the election. I'll give Dr. Sanchioni, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yes, I do, Madam Chair, and thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the kind words. I guess I want to use this opportunity to update what I feel this committee should hear as a state of the district. And I'm going to do this in the sense of trying to put us in a better position as we move forward. I think we all can agree that last winter was particularly difficult for all of us sitting up here. The vitriol that was out there online was uncalled for, filled with inaccuracies, untruths. And that's especially noteworthy, though, because that vitriol was coming from outside the organization. Inside the organization, we have remarkable progress. Thank you for mentioning some of that. Our graduation rate is all-time high. We have more students going to college, introduced new CTE programs, and expanded AP class offerings. We put advanced technology in the hands of both our staff and our students. RICAS scores are all-time high at both the elementary and middle school levels. Attendance has drastically increased, thank you to the Bridge program. Discipline issues are way down. Credit to our SEL staff and the diversion program that helps kids in great need. Project-based learning has taken off in numerous classrooms with excellent results. and you mentioned the high-quality PD, and what that's done, it's helped our teachers become outstanding practitioners. Most importantly, though, in this organization, we built a culture of collaboration and collegiality. I want to acknowledge Kristen Destramps, who continues to fiercely advocate for all the teachers while understanding what's crucial for our students. The same can be said for Wendy Flynn and Wendy Clark, who lead Council 94. They deserve recognition, too. We've not had a grievance in this district in over 5 years. It's a testament to the teamwork we've cultivated. Our organization is thriving. There's no strife in the organization. And that's interesting because typically you expect external negativity when things aren't going well in the organization. The district is thriving, yet we're still dealing with noise from outside. So here's the purpose of this. As we look ahead this year, there's another tough budget year looming. And I encourage you, all of us, to block out that external noise. Let's deepen our internal conversations. Talk to our staff. I encourage you to talk to Gail, the new principal at Ranger, who spent many years in Middletown, or Jow, who's over at Fort Barton, who did many years in Portsmouth. Sue Craven, who came from us from Narragansett, and Andy, who did many years in Massachusetts districts, Sarah, who worked outside districts, and Kristen. I think they'll give you an accurate picture of the district's true state. I think you'd be impressed with what they have to say and how we compare. I heard last year people claim we weren't being transparent. And I'd say, just look at our budget book. It's purposely designed so that anyone, whether familiar with budgeting or not, can easily navigate it. Moreover, we received numerous requests for information last year, all of which we fulfilled promptly. Some believe they could uncover inefficiencies or even wrongdoings in our budget. Do you know how many suggestions for improvement I received? None. The truth is, our budget is expertly crafted. It's 97% comprised of essential components: staff, benefits, transportation, energy, special education, and technology. Last year, we had a spotless audit and expect it to be the same this year. We don't have a budget problem, we have a revenue problem. So as we move forward, and this is, I think, the key, let's unite around the tough decisions we need to make. Let's listen to our thriving organization we've built. When we prioritize the welfare of our students and staff, those tough decisions will become easier. I look forward to taking this journey with you all the way to June 30th of this year and doing what's best for the Tiverton Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Paquette, could I ask you to come back up? You had a question, and I do want to give you the opportunity to ask it.
Thank you. I was just wondering, are you going to use a search, like a headhunter that you did the last
At
time?
this point in time, because we do have an election in a month, I don't think it would be very wise of us to make any kind of plans until after the election.
Okay, so that would answer the rest of my questions then.
Okay.
Because you don't know. Okay, thank you.
I just don't know.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it'll be up to whatever 5 are sitting here, Kim, it'll be up to them to decide.
That's right.
Like, the last time around, the 5 of us decided just to do it on our own. The new 5 could go.
No, we had a consultant last time.
Well, we had a consultant, but
We
we
had a
didn't do a committee.
No.
We did, so whoever's sitting up here will have to decide that.
Thank you. All right. That takes us to the end of the regular agenda. Our next meeting will be October 22nd. And now I would like to make a motion to move into executive session under Rhode Island General Law 4246 5A1, job performance, character, physical, or mental health. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Polish?
Yes.
Dr. Larkin?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mrs. Clavel?
Yes.
Yes.
Mike? We're in executive session. Thank you.